where are the priority? What is the most important things?
Leadership is for serving others, is for making a difference.
Is to not make our decisions, not make our plans in isolation.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Get to Know Me, where I, Jonathan Lacer, interview different YWAM leaders all over Central Europe. And so today we have Greg Skrobarczyk. Is that? Nope. Close.
Close, really close.
No, it's not a ski.
It's okay, Jonathan. My wife still doesn't pronounce correct this last name, so we are 16 years after marriage. It's still kind of fun.
All right.
Yeah.
So Greg, just tell me where you're from and how did you get into YWAM?
Oh, I am from Poland. I'm born here and grew up in a city. Actually, it used to be a really a big heart for industrial for Poland. It's called Ruda Śląska near Katowice, maybe 60 kilometers south to Krakow, which is kind of really known city in Poland, really old. And yes, my first, let's say, test of YWAM was in 1991 when I was introduced to one of the YWAM branch called King's Kids International. And there was a guy named Klaus Schuder from Germany who invited me to come and join them for a mission trip. And I was at this point 16 years old. And that's how I kind of get introduced to the YWAM world, let's say. And that's how my journey starts. And took a while me to go to and do DTS school, because I did my DTS in 2003 in Budapest. So that's kind of my my story with YWAM. Starts from King's Kids.
Awesome. So how did you get back to Poland from Budapest? Did you stay in Budapest, or like how did that come about?
I was always thinking about my country, and actually I always wanted to serve here. It's some kind of reason God called me to my own country. I've been traveling a lot in Europe and the world as well. But I think this is something specific God put to my heart to serve in my own country, which is not really easy sometimes. But after DTS, I've been praying and asking God, what you have for me. And I already worked with King's Kids and Poland as a little network team in my church, and work with the unprivileged, needy, poor people mostly, and kids. And yeah, that's how I think I have the desire to still come back and serve here. And just my desire was to show the young generations, really how to connect with God in a different way than we approaching here in the churches. Actually, how to listen to Him, how to be obedient, how to serve Him in a different maybe way, and. So that was my desire, to kind of really see that to rise up the hunger for the God's word first, and then to serve and see Polish people, young people going to the missions board. That was my desire, because I didn't see this very often in Poland, that there's young Polish people who going around the world, and just make God known. So that's how I end up back to Poland. and I'm here till today.
Yeah. So, can you describe your ministry and like what you do with that?
Well, part of the story is also that I met my wife in DTS in Budapest. We have really great leaders who kind of pray with us about it, because, DTS school, the relationships are kind of not how you say, not encouraged. But we knew that we want to be together, so we talked to our leaders, we prayed, and I think God really guided us and lead us. And then actually He put a desire to my wife's heart to also come to Poland. And I think this is also a part of the story, that we both wanted to come back here, and my country became her country. And we, in the beginning, we work actually among needy still and poor people and kids, in different areas and districts, which were really tough and rough. And it cost me a lot of discouragement and a hard time. But it was a beginning of something God really were preparing for our family. So how I can describe now our ministry is actually it's King's Kids, because I'm part of King's Kids and the central. It's not central, so it's a European King's Kids leadership as well. And what we do in Poland, we really have actually two focuses. It's families and young generation, and we want to connect them together, and we want to see them, living the kingdom of God together. The world is so divided already, and I think God puts the desire to our hearts, me and my wife, and to really see the generations serving together. And so that's what basically we do. We mobilizing the families to experience mission trips, to reach them, and through the family camps or different seminars, and it's happening very well. And as far as the youth and teenagers, we actually have a year. It's called a discipleship program for the young people, and all from all Poland coming for weekends. We have 5 weekends during the year, and where we discovering, the calling from God for us, and do the same things what DTS does in a different form. And then always the practical assignments is to take the young people to the mission trips, and it's been really interesting to see the young people who are really hungry for God and take it seriously, and go to different countries. This year, we were planning to go to Albania and Croatia via Slovenia, but the situation now, it's kind of stopped us, but we still didn't cancel the trip yet. We'll see what God has for us. But that's basically what we do, and creating some network teams around Poland which support the local churches where the kids, belong to, let's say this way. Yeah.
So in these years of you building this, what would you say, what were some mistakes that you've made along the way?
Oh, along the way, I think to say no.
Not saying no.
Not say no. Yes, thank you. It was one of the things, because I want to do a lot of things, putting actually ministry above my family. and working for God instead of working with God, you know. And I think that was one of the biggest, mistake I discovered later, because it's not about to look for the job you have to do, but really what God caring in the heart for you. So that was one of the biggest mistakes I did. To priority, how to prioritize, your family life and ministry, and what really God has in His heart for you. So, plus, I think giving some responsibilities to people sometimes, which they were not which they were not prepared yet to take some of the responsibilities, and they lead different people in completely different directions, So that's what I could share about my mistakes.
Yeah. Was there like one time? I mean, I'm sure there was many times, but what was like the hardest decision that you had to make during this process with people or with the ministry, with family?
Mm-hmm. I think the hardest decision was to really leave it things for God. I mean, I've been in the situation in my family when I think my family life were falling apart. I've been always busy finding different things to do to please God, instead of asking Him, God, what is in your heart? How I can bring you joy? How are you, God? Show me your heart, So I didn't know that at this point. So I have to leave all the ministry here and go for sabbatical with basically we rescue our family. And I think that was one of the hardest things, that I have to leave something behind and really say, God, this is yours anyway. Take it and do whatever God you want you to do. We have a big club at this time and over 200 kids and different people show up. And I think it came to the point that God shows me that He more care about my personal relationship with Him than what I'm doing, and it's not like He doesn't care, but at this point in my life, I think I was in a big danger to do work, instead of kind of really build the relationship stronger with Him. So I have to leave all this ministry, all these contacts. Everything was going well. We did a lot of different things here with the government, with local government, with different departments of the government, with schools. I mean, we've been really known in the city, but I think my personal relationship with Jesus was dying. And I've been getting to the point that I start to be a workaholic, and just instead of missionary, I think I was a social worker trying to please people, and maybe meet the needs, around, because we have a lot of needs, So leaving this place, the building even, it was a big hard things. And of course, I did it. It wasn't easy. And this building doesn't exist anymore. But I think I learned a big lesson.
Yeah. Wow. What would you say, like, how to prevent that, like, before things get too bad where you're kind of forced into sabbatical? How would you say, could you prevent that? not to saying that sabbaticals are bad. I believe we both believe sabbaticals are a good time for. But how would you say? How could you help other people to prevent being forced to go into sabbatical?
Well, I think each of us need a time of rest, and really examine and our hearts, where we are with the relationship with God, and for the families, for sure, I will encourage to have a family meeting and ask, hey, how are you guys doing? Where we are, where we going as a family, and is this is really what God wants for us as a family, or just for individuals? I mean, God always wants the family unit to walk together. It was always in His heart. So I will encourage to stop and see where are the priority. What is the most important things for the singles. Let's say as well. I would say, God, is it really you? And that's what I'm learning now. Somebody you can be accountable to, and mostly I would recommend actually older people who are experienced in the faith, who can tell you sometimes not comfortable things, not easy. But this is something I miss in my life, somebody older than me to be able to speak to my life and encourage me to think, and make me process, I think singles have tendency that they don't have so much responsibilities yet, they don't have families, so they can be easily jumping to different projects and work and stuff like that, but it's my attitude and it's my work affecting people around me, especially in the base. There's families as well, and if I'm thinking the same way the family thinks, or I'm thinking my single mind, I think you have to have really a sensitive heart and ask the Lord, show me through your eyes, how I can serve the families, because sometimes the most important thing is to serve those people who are with you, and then the others, and of course bringing God's joy and have the relationship with God is the first priority we have.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you. What would you say, like, what would you say, like, looking back? I mean, you said you did your DTS in 2003, right? So, back at this last, let's say, 17 years, what would you say was the biggest miracle God did in your life?
The biggest miracle. I think that God gave me a wife who loves me with all my, mistakes and all my minuses I have in my life. There was many miracles on the way. I think a biggest miracle was that I actually show up in the school, because I didn't have, of course, money, like probably most of us who are making this crazy step of faith to go to the school. Plus my language, at this point I did not speak English at all. I mean, I have some courses in Poland, but after 1 week I was ready to come back home, because I said, it's not my place here. I don't get it anything, and God is really, really funny, and he really cares for our needs as well. He see that, and so learning the language, that I can speak to you. I mean, I still make mistakes and stuff, but I think that was the biggest miracle I experienced. That during the 6 months, I was able to communicate clearly. It wasn't easy. I mean, I cried a few times, and I was ready, as I mentioned before, to just pack my bag and come back home. But God was with me, and the team as well encouraged me a lot, and have a big passion for me at this point.
Like since then, in 17 years was miracle things.
In 17 years.
A lot of it. I mean, we've had material miracles like getting money for the car and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it was cutting something in my thing, but God really provide for us a lot of things, material stuff, as far as cars, and a flat in Warsaw where we live, and yeah, I think that's.
I think the miracle really was the sabbatical year God saved my marriage.
Yeah. Like my wife is actually on the other side of the computer, and she mentioned that, and I agree with her 100%. The biggest miracle we experience is that God saved our marriage, and we went for sabbatical for a year and a half, and I think God really met me there in a really special way. I've been crying and screaming and sobbing and all this kind of stuff, and God really spoke to me. I mean, not like, hey Greg, but I felt his presence, and he showed me his heart. So I think that was big miracle for us during the 17 years that he saved our marriage and our family.
Yeah, wow. These past 17 years, if you could start all over, like, is there something that you would have done differently this time, like in a second chance?
Mm-hmm. Your question was kind of cutting. The door is closed. The Wi-Fi is not coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Would you be able to repeat one more time?
Yes. In the past 17 years, if you could start all over again, what would you do differently?
Thanks. You mean, hold on. If I could start all over again, what I would do differently? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay. Something with the internet was not clear. Well, that's also a hard question. I mean, I know what I would do, but I think everyone will do this differently. For sure, I'll be spending more time with God and ask Him for His direction. I will include, in my case, family, to really seek the Lord and ask Him, what is in His heart, and then make steps.
Have boundaries.
And have boundaries, yes. Boundaries, and it's hard to say because you actually learn all the way. Your mistakes are the teachable moments. Yeah. And the question is, if you take these moments and you kind of make them, usable in your life, or you just kind of ignore them. And in my case, in our family case, we have tons of the teachable moments, where we have to stop kind of and think and pray and ask the Lord and ask the kids what they think. So definitely I would actually surely ask the Lord what is in His heart, with the whole family, where we're supposed to go, and be patient, wait for the Lord. I mean, we have tendency to do a lot of things, I know that God gave us brain, gave us great ideas,
We're pioneers.
and we are pioneers. We have the tendency to go, and conquer, and that's all great. But this is what really God wants for us, this is what He really wants for us. There's tons of different organizations who do amazing things, but what is really in His heart for us? And I think that's what I will start again. Start praying and seeking the Lord, and probably make slowly the team, and be sure that we all walking the same values, and we know the values, because I think it's also really important. And let the Spirit lead us, and have some goals as well, and ask for God's strategy for our mission works. Sometimes it's really hard because we don't see the result which is waiting. But what if we will do something for the second, third, or fourth generations ahead, and we never will reach actually our goal? Are we ready for that too? I will actually ask the question myself when I will start. God, what I'm doing, why I'm doing this, and if I'm doing this so the generations can take over and walk with you towards, your purposes, your goals.
Wow, that's good. Wow, yeah, that was really good. I'm gonna listen back over that again later. But yeah, wow. So you talked about involving family with ministry and also setting boundaries. What advice would you give to families? As in, there's so many families that we've seen now come up more and more in YWAM, especially in our Central Europe. Young families, what advice would you give to them about involving their kids with ministry or introducing Jesus or making those boundaries? Like, what's the kind of best advice you could give to them?
The first things I would say, don't put mission work above your family. This is big no-no. I've been listening to many stories where the kids went completely different direction, than us parents we want for them. So have a family vacation. Don't take summertime is mostly for, mission works in our world, let's say, you know what I mean? But I think it's an adultery against your family if you don't have vacation with your family, because that's what the kids gonna remember the most. I mean, recently a book show up in this and our actually Christian word called 3G Generations, from Curtis Cluett. I recommend to read this family if they want to have really practical tool. But have the teachable moment with your family, spend time with them, ask God, this is really what God has for us, and I think God is gonna make the way. Sometimes in our family, I'm going by myself, I'm going with one of my daughter, or my wife is going by herself or with our daughter, but the thing is, let's give the space and opportunity to our kids to experience that God is also speaking to them as far as our family, because that's the moment where they learn, even watching us when we make mistakes, because we do. But let's invite them to be partners in our mission, so we can also learn from each other and encourage each other. Sometimes a short prayer from the kiddo, a child, it's a huge encouragement. It's a few words, but it's coming from their hearts. So that's what I will encourage. I mean, I don't know if that's advice, because I'm still learning, be a father, a good father, but I will encourage to think this way.
Oh yeah, that's actually some really great advice that I think really helps some families around Central Europe or even Europe. So yeah, thank you so
Mhm.
much for that.
You know, one thing what I want to add to it, Jonathan, is remember that our kids, I don't know how they learn, but they are almost 10 months at school, you know, and the 2 months of vacations they have, at least in Poland, which is July and August, this is something holy for them. They really want to have a fun. I don't want to say that they don't have to, I mean, they didn't supposed to go they shouldn't go to mission trips, because my daughters go, but you also have to be sensitive and have the boundaries, okay, and find the balance. Okay, last year we were in 3 mission trips. Okay, maybe this year let's do a mission for our family. Let's actually have fun, let's go and do some crazy things. That's, I think, what is it's really important to find the balance and be sensitive what our kids are saying. Ask them, actually. Ask them, hey kids, what do you like to do this year? So
Yeah. What would you say to those who might say, but we're missionaries and maybe we shouldn't do like the best vacations, or like try to or let's not spend so much money to that? Do you think it's worth it to have those experiences, to spend that little bit of extra for your family, or should we go back there?
actually, I didn't hear the questions because there's something going on in the kitchen.
It's all right.
So if you will be nice to repeat the question,
Yes. What would you say to those
that will be
families?
great.
Yeah. What would you say to the families who would say that vacation, that we're missionaries and vacation is not something that's really so important for us, or maybe that we shouldn't spend so much money on vacations, or um, on that time, that Sabbath time that we need as families or individuals? Would you say it'd be worth it to spend that a little extra money to do something for our family?
Mhm. Yes, I mean, a lot of people says, that they don't have money for vacations, because they serve the Lord and things like that, But I think um, we need to ask ourselves, what is really important for us. The kids remember fathers spending all money for missions, or the fathers actually saving some, or mother or parents saving some money for the vacations, and plan this. Even you don't have so much money, you still can go somewhere, because it's all about the time being together. The time to kind of have fun together. I mean, if you have money, you can go around the world, of course. If you don't have it, it's all about the time. In this book, actually, where Curtis Cluett wrote, he asked the question, their kids, what is the most important things, or what do you remember from what is the best thing from our family, like how we spend the time, or something like that. And the kids said vacations, actually, because we sit together, we play games, we hear the same funny stories, but it's something, our identity as a family, it's kind of, growing, and it's establishing as well, I could say. And I think that's really, really important. I mean, if you can do this during the summertime, you still can plan some vacation on the way during the year. Different countries have different free time, so that's the thing.
Oh wow, that's good. Yeah, I think that is it for today and what we have. I want to thank you so much, Greg, for meeting with me and having this conversation. It was really good. I really love your wisdom. In the 17 years, you can see that God's really done a lot in your life, and that you see yourself still as that little small sapling, a tree sapling, still growing.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so glad you said yes to the email.
Yes,
Yes.
I still growing.
Exactly. So yeah, I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can do this again another time.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope it's gonna be helpful for some other people around and families. And yeah, thank you very much, and God bless you.
God bless you too.